AMP Studios, brought to you by Old Mutual.
And the day has finally arrived. Good afternoon. Welcome to our very first AMPed Icon Hero Conversation for 2020. Applause. Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Lerato Hefele. Thank you so much for joining us virtually, wherever you're joining us from, be it on Facebook, on YouTube, hello, on Instagram, and of course our friends from 947. So for those of you that are new to this incredible space, we are broadcasting live from AMP Studios by Old Mutual, situated in the heart of Joburg in Newtown. In fact, we are right inside the Newtown Junction Mall, and I can actually see a couple of you doing some shopping. So this is just a powerful and free culture hub created to help young up-and-coming talent break into the entertainment industry. And we give you all the tools and support you could possibly need. In fact, I think I should take you for a quick tour before the guests arrive. Let's start in our fancy boardroom, okay? So come with me. This is a very impressive boardroom that we have over here that you can make use of, right? We've got all the cool facilities. So you can use this for your meetings, maybe if you want to impress a brand, if you want to impress a label, then you can come here, do your thing, and seal the deal, you know what I mean? But I cannot leave here without showing off a little bit, okay? So this is our wall of fame. These are some of the incredible artists that we've had either on our masterclasses or for iconic conversations. So over there we've got DJ Shimza, we've got Zwaiba, and then we've got the iconic Vusi Khumalo over here, and then we also got Slicker. All right, so come with me, let me take you to the other side, and here we've got our live stream team who are working very, very hard, and they just basically need to make sure that everything is running smoothly this afternoon, because you can imagine how incredibly technical it can be. Now, talking about live streaming, we also have our live streaming stage over here. So if you're a band, maybe you'd like to perform, we also have got world-class lighting equipment. It's really, really cool. You guys need to come and check it out. But we also have a little setup for this afternoon, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Riky Rick will be sitting over here. He's coming to join us later on this afternoon. And then also we'll be having the legendary Caiphus Semenya, who'll be joining us from home because he is social distancing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So at least he's keeping safe from home. So he'll be joining us as well later on this afternoon. And then over there we have our co-working space. You know, it's not just about working incredibly hard in this place, but it's also a space for you to be able to socialize and also just network with your fellow creatives. And then upstairs we've got world-class recording studios, okay? I'm not going to go upstairs, but an interesting fact is that, so the special tribute that we have for Caiphus Semenya was in fact recorded right here. And we've got footage of that, so you'll get to at least check that out later. We also have amazing quick Wi-Fi. We've got fantastic video production facilities, and we also have got podcast facilities that you can make use of. So it's an amazing space. But they haven't told you, there's a big, big secret that I had, that the best thing about AMP Studios is, wait for it, the coffee. We have the best coffee in Joburg, okay? So we've got our baristas. Hi, Paul, thank you very much for my coffee. So we've got our baristas who are working very hard to make sure that you've got the finest coffee in Joburg. It tastes amazing. So not only is the coffee amazing, the service was quick. Did you see that? I just said coffee, and I already had coffee with me. It's pretty amazing. So, you know, if you're having like a really, really hectic day, you've got these hectic deadlines, you have to submit a proposal, you have to submit that demo, you can just chill here, get your coffee break, and then just be re-energized once again, all right? It's really good. So you're probably wondering, all of these amazing things that Lerato is talking about, how do I get access to it? Well, it is easy peasy. The key to all of these amazing facilities is the Old Mutual Money account, okay? So it's a brilliant and clever little card created to help kickstart your career and get it on the road. It costs only R4.95 a month. Yes, I did not make a mistake. It is only R4.95 a month, and it takes about 15 minutes to open, if not quicker. So right now, to make sure that you get yours, just go to ampstudios.co.za right now and click on the money account tab. It should be like on the top of, on the right-hand corner. And make sure that you get the ampstudios.co.za. So obviously, it was easier to just walk in here pre-COVID-19 restrictions, but these facilities are still available for you. You have to make a booking. Make sure that you go to our website again, ampstudios.co.za, to make sure that you reserve your space, and then we'll welcome you into our space. In addition, here at AMP Studios, we host regular masterclasses and hero conversations with the best of the best in this industry. So they basically just share their journeys with us, mistakes that they've made, and some financial wisdom, helping to give you the building blocks to just kickstart your career and your business in the entertainment industry. So this afternoon is no exception as we host one of the most historic Amped Icon Hero conversation of all time. So you definitely want to be here. We are talking to the legendary Caiphus Semenya, and he'll be hanging out with another South African icon, the incredible Riky Rick. There's so much to say about Caiphus Semenya. Hey, he's worked with the likes of Brahuma Sekela, Miriam Makeba, Quincy Jones, and Michael Jackson. So he's basically responsible for putting the South African music industry on the global map. And we cannot talk about his success without talking about his bae, of course, the incredible Mamlet Mbulu. Hey, that's another feather in his cap because he's just as equally talented. So this afternoon, Caiphus Semenya opens up for the very first time on many important aspects of his life as well as his career. And we just, he tells us how he's managed to have a career of more than 4 decades and he still remains relevant to this day at the age of 81. Can you believe that? He doesn't even look 81 years. So maybe he'll let us in on that secret, how he manages to look so young. This exclusive Amped Icon Hero conversation will also be going out to MTV Base this evening at 9:30. So make sure that you catch that as well. All of this live right here by AMP Studios by Old Mutual. So right now, it's time to get the show on the road. Please feel free to comment and send your messages on the stream. Remember that as much as it's a conversation between Caiphus and Riky, it's also a conversation between you and I. So remember to use the hashtag AMP Studios. And finally, if you'd like to be part of the AMP community, you can sign up on our website, ampstudios.co.za, or alternatively, you can WhatsApp your name to 081-707-6636. That number again, it's 081-707-6636. Okay, but before we get started, some other big stars also wanted to send special messages about Caiphus Semenya for this historic event. Let's have a look at what they said.
Caiphus Semenya, for me, is a monument. His impact on African music and just global pop music is really immeasurable. For me, he's definitely like up there, one of the gods of African music.
His humility, I think, played a big role into sustaining, a career for 65 years.
I think he's real, and then the music itself, it's genuine, and it's a lot with our legends. Like the music back then, it was music. It was about music. It's genuine. Them being real, and just being, I'm here for the music. It's easy for their music to transcend. It's easy for them to be living legends.
I think he's a guru. I can say he's a South African guru. Music, they were doing it for love. Money, it happens automatically if you are honest about what you're doing.
More than anything, it wasn't about the fame, it wasn't about the money, it wasn't about the validation, it was just about him doing what he loves. I'm making music, I'm just gonna follow where my music takes me, because at some point, even though you make the music, but the music needs to lead you somewhere.
I grew up to find out that, he was working with the likes of Quincy Jones, and I grew up even some more and got to check on the credits that the same people that played on, say, Letambulu stuff were the same people that were playing on Off the Wall, Michael Jackson and all those great records.
Caiphus Semenya remains one of South Africa's greatest musical exports, alongside his lovely wife, Sis Letambulu, and Huma Sekela, Jonas Kwangwa, and Mama Miriam Makeba. They represented us in a great way amongst all those great American musicians.
I love the man to pieces. When I look at him, I can't help but just smile. My soul just smiles and say, man, you just don't realize what you've done to me.
Wow, it's amazing to hear icons talking like that about other icons, hey? There's a lot happening this afternoon. The youngsters, the youngings have teamed up. The likes of Tresor, KWESTA, Amanda Black, and many more have put together an unforgettable tribute to the great man himself. Let's take a sneak peek at what they've done.
M Studios brought to you by Old Mutual.
Matswale. Caiphus Semenya, for me, is a monument. He's definitely like up there, one of the gods of African music. I got to work with such incredible artists. I had Amanda Black here, and I had Matswale Queens, whom I love very much. I also had Bongeziwe Mabandla, and brother KWESTA, who was also on the song, was really incredible. And we have the legendary Vusi, who was an incredible drummer. And it's such an honor to have everyone on this record.
Like it does the emotion it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like you feel it from the moment it starts.
I think we can just mute the verse and you can do however you feel, and then the arrangement can come afterwards.
Early mornings and late nights, sweet grapes and grapevines, stories and little play fights. It's been a minute since date night.
Getting to bridge that gap between generations for me, I think is really crucial because it's such a massive song, and I just wanted to design the right sounds for it, make it slightly more modern, but also trying to get the spirit of Caiphus into the song. I'm really honored to be part of it, really.
Music has changed. How it makes us feel never will. The time is now to visit mstudios.co.za.
Wow, Matswale is a massive song. No pressure, guys, but I can't wait to see what they've done with the song. So we'll be unveiling that song towards the end of the stream. Make sure that you stick with us. I think, oh yes, so Riky has arrived, and I think Dr. Caiphus is also ready. Hi, Riky, welcome. Nice to have you here with us. And Dr. Caiphus, wow, it is such an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. We look forward to learning from you.
Hello out there, good people. I'm here at my own home. I'm looking forward to having this great conversation with Riky.
Sure. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps and a bit starstruck, just a little, okay. Let's get the show off the road. I know that I am ready, they are ready. I hope that you are ready too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and a privilege to present an iconic conversation between Riky Rick and Dr. Caiphus Semenya.
Sabona Bab Semenya.
Kunjani Riky?
Ngiyaphila njani wena?
No, it's right, man.
I mean, my heart hasn't stopped beating. You came into the picture like 20 minutes ago, but my heart has been beating ever since. I mean, it's not every day you get to meet an icon like you and get to sit down and have a conversation. So we're truly blessed to have you, truly blessed to have you.
Now I'm glad to be here. Ukuthi ngizokhuluma nawe, nami ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi izinto ezime kanjani from your side.
I think isn't this mega as long as we're able to talk and communicate to people. You know, and you know, by God's grace, at least we're able to jump on a Skype call or a Zoom call and be able to talk, you know, without having any restrictions. You know, I think as long as we can keep the vibes, the energy going, things will always be right. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, this is the best time to feel good because this pandemic is driving everybody crazy. And we're all paranoid now. We don't know what's going to happen the next time you step out of the door. You know? But I think if we keep cool heads and we follow the rules of how to take care that we don't spread this thing or we don't catch it, then I think we'll be okay.
So ngithi mina Bab Semenya, it's been 80 years. We're going to 81 years. Yeah. I've been in the game for about 10 years, 15 years, and you know, I couldn't have imagined it being this long and me being active enough to be doing the things that I'm doing. But for you, 80 years down the line, when you were planting these seeds did you see that this was going to be a beautiful tree that was going to grow?
No, because, you know, when I started at school in the classroom with two of my friends. We were really great friends. And during lunchtime, most of the kids would go out, of course, you know, to have lunch outside and so on, or take a break from the classroom. But me and my friends, Poponi and Mansugu, we would eat quickly, or sometimes we had our lunch in the classroom, and we would start singing all these hit songs that the other groups were singing. Because during the 50s, there were all these groups, you know. There was the Manhattan Brothers, there was the Cuban Brothers, there was the Inksports, there was the Woodpeckers. I mean, I can call their names. And all of them were coming out with these great songs. Abu Kumbula Jane, Abu Baile Bonake, and you know, a lot of us youngsters used to copy these older guys, you know, Abu Putbeit and our sisters. So we used to sing these songs, but we did not know with what we were doing then. We were actually planting a seed for us to be performers. Tina, we just sang, we were just enjoying ourselves. You know? And then, of course, that grew from, and then Eskolo and Setu, they had this, this period in our school where they gave us youngsters, you know, time to do whatever we wanted to do in terms of things that were artistic. And those who wanted to sing, they sang. Those who wanted to act, they acted. And the three of us kept on doing the same things. In all of these activities, we would come up with new songs until one of the teachers that used to come to our classroom to teach, I think he taught science or geography, one of those subjects. And then he noticed that we were always, the three of us, always singing. And he said, you know, you guys, you should form a group. And, but I must tell you, Guti, we were kind of on the naughty side. And then he gave us a name because we were very naughty. You know? But we were Katsan Jama kids. This was a comic strip of these two kids who were so silly, so naughty in the comic strip. So he likened us to the Katsan Jama kids. And we liked the name, so we started singing now seriously, you know, seriously as a young group, but not thinking that one day at 8 years old I'd still be doing what I started then.
Oh man, and it always starts off with trying to emulate the music that you hear, emulate other people that are creators. I think for me, myself, I used to listen to Tupac. Tupac lyrics were just something that I would try study as much as possible. I liked all types of music, but studying Tupac's lyrics made me want to rap. And then we sort of, it was also a situation where we're at school and we're in the choir, but we always wanted to remix the choir songs, and the choir master wasn't hip to remixing, you know, traditional choir music like they do now. I think kids today, they when they're part of choirs, they do modern songs, they do remixes, they do all these different versions of the songs that they do. So we always had to sneak out as a group while we were saying we were going to the choir room. We stopped going to choir and we started a beatbox and hip hop group where we used to rap. The one guy used to beatbox and two of us, me and another boy called Ntlantla, used to rap. And that's where we sort of also said, okay, maybe this is a real thing. But it didn't become real until we got the name. So like you saying, once you got the name, it became a real thing. Once someone called me Riky Rick, that's when it actually became a real thing.
Yeah. That's when you begin to realize that you've got something there. When you're doing it for fun. You're not thinking to be a star, as people like to call it. You know, I just say to be an artist. You know, you're not thinking to be an artist of great magnitude. You're just thinking of just enjoying what you're doing with your friends. You know? And the rest becomes history, because from Benoni, That's where I grew up. I was 14, 15, at my grandmother's, my mother's mother. My mother sent me to Benoni to be with my grandmother because Alexandra Township, where I was born, was becoming a little rough for teenagers, and I kept some very unsavory characters for friends, you know. And my mother didn't like that. So she sent me to Benoni. And in Benoni, that's when at school, that's when I met Poponi and Mansugu. These were my two friends. And we were the Cousin Jama kids, the originals. So when we became the Cousin Jama kids, we needed another member, a fourth one. And we got another guy who was, he sang with another group, but he didn't like the group he sang with. So he came and joined us. And then from that day on, we became four, and we were now the Cousin Jama kids. And in every concert in Benoni, in Springs, and so on, especially concert that had to do with youngsters, you know, we would be featured there. We would be featured. And then there was a time in 1958. 1958, there was a competition, which was almost like national, you could say. And we didn't know why. That this competition for all the youngsters to come and do their stuff, you know, what it was for. We learned that later. So we went there, we did our thing with the other youngsters were there, and we came up as number one. So we were chosen in Benoni among the youngsters. And then the day we were called now to come and receive our prize, we were given the prize there, but we were told that there was a greater prize that we were going to be given. We didn't know what that was. So we went to Doke House La in Joburg, and the prize was that we were going to be members of the King Kong musical, cast members. And there were other kids. I mean, there were, I think, must have been something like 50-something kids, our age, and others a little older, different groups like the Saints, the Shelton Kids, and all of us were going to be cast members of King Kong. And that was my first time now when I went into into something that I loved. That was part of my life, I thought then. But at that time it was paying money, so we were being paid per week for the first time. The others, you know, with the Cousin Jama kids, we really never made money. You know, 5 shillings, maybe a show, 10 shillings, you know. If we got £1, wow, we were really doing it. But even at that time, we were not thinking that, you know, we need to be paid, we want more money. No, for us, it was just fun, you know. But at this age now, I was 19 years old when we went to King Kong. And for the first time, we were put under, how can I say this? We were put under the radar now of somebody who was the producer, who made sure that we rehearsed on time. Luckily for us, we were used to rehearsing. We were really used to rehearsing. So when we started rehearsing in the musical now, we were rehearsing as professionals now, not only as kids who are interested in music, who love music, but now it was intentional, and it was intentional to achieve a certain end. And this now had to do with the musical itself, that some of us were boxers, you know, young boxers in the story, you know, we're young boxers, and King Kong was the great boxer, and we were like in his boxing school or boxing gym, in his gym. And we began now, the songs that we sang had to do with what we were doing in the gym. And these two things now began to merge, and we began to see that actually it's not only about singing on the stage, that you can actually sing and take what you have and make it into something else that could also be dramatic, you see. And that was my first lesson, and I never forgot that.
I mean, being able to use your talents to tell a story is something very few people get the privilege of doing. And even if they have a talent to do that, it's very hard to find yourself in a space, like you say, you just found yourself in a space where they're putting you into a production. You weren't even expecting that, you know. And how much, when you look back, there was the talent part that you guys were constantly working on, but how much of, how I say, luck and fate had to play when you find yourself in a position like that? Do you ever look back and say, "Whoa, that was a really lucky break," or the stars had to align somehow? There was something else that was working.
Well, you know what I found out when I Rick is that within this play, it was not only a play that stood on its own. It was not separate on its own. Because the people that had organized this play, the producers of this play, were running Doke House. Yeah, the Doke House. Now, Doke House was the brainchild of guys that even to this day, when I think of them, you know, I thank them. You know, Denpo, Gwigwi Mkhwebi, Bobra Makei Davashe, Abu Kipimu Eketi, you know. These older guys had been in bands, you know, like in big bands. And even to this day, if we can find some of the bands that they used to play in, they were filmed, you know, there's some footage of these guys playing. But they decided to come up with a union because at that time, you know, the Nationalist Party government did not allow Africans, you know, to have any kind of union, you know, a workers' union. They did not allow Africans to have groups to sing. They didn't think it was a great idea, you know. But these guys, with the help of some liberal white folks, you know, guys that we knew, a person like Ian Bernhard, they managed to find space at Doke House, and they called that the Union of Southern African Artists. And I don't know, because I was a kid, and they were facing all these apartheid laws. I don't know how they pulled it off, but they pulled it off, you know. And there, they actually even were able to get us passes so that we could have a pass that was stamped artist. I don't know how these guys did it, you know. And then when I'm an older guy, you know, I'm grown up now, I'm looking for them to ask them all these questions. They've all passed away. But they made it possible for us. And within the Doke House, they had they created dramatic schools, they created choirs, they created jazz, they created schools. I mean, it just became a hub for South African music, you see. And there we were, all these youngsters. Now we were put together. Was the first time I shook the hand of Dambuza Mdlele, who was one of my greatest heroes. I mean, the guy could sing, and Joe Mukhoti, and then there were the Woodpeckers and the Ink Spots and so on. About sis Dorothy Masuka, Miriam Makeba, you name it, Dolly Ratebe, they were all there at Doke House. You know, and as a youngster, you can imagine that you're among these great giants and they are listening to you singing with your group. And then, so we became part of some of the musicals that they were doing. It was not only King Kong. King Kong was in 1959, and it ran for a whole year up to December 1959. And then in 60, it didn't happen. We were doing other things. There was Township Tonight. There was the Emperor Jones. There was, these guys were just producing shows, you know? And we learned from there. Now, it comes to this thing that it's not so much luck that was happening. It's because some of us, took it so seriously. And Bobu Joe and Bobu Den, they noticed some of us who were really serious, who really put our hearts into it, that they would give us every chance, every show that comes, that you should be in that. Why? Because they saw that you worked harder than the others. The others took it like nice time, and so on. But some of us took it very seriously, that this is a serious thing. And Bobu Den, they noticed this, and that's how I began to climb into all the different ranks of going up and up. They put me to, they had me do lighting. I studied lighting, theater lighting. I studied staging. I became what they call a property master. In one of the shows that they had produced, and this was an opera. Rigoletto was one of them, and La Traviata, And for the first time I was on the stage, I was a property master, making sure that every little item, every little, what's the word for
prop? Every prop,
every little prop that was needed in a scene is there. And I did these things, because I was so excited. Yeah, I was excited to be in this. Kanti, all these things of being excited and doing things correctly and intentionally were preparing me for a journey in this business.
And that's what I always try to tell my young, the young bloods that we're surrounded with. I always tell them that, opportunities are going to open up to you the harder people see you working at even the jobs that you think are not going to help you become a star or help you get any notoriety, It's very difficult to be someone who's the best singer on a set, but you have to deal with the lights, or you have to deal with the props, but I could sing that part really, really well. Most people walk out the door. Very few people can sacrifice their pride and sacrifice their time and say, I'm here to actually, to also learn. I'm not just here to showcase what I do, I'm also here to learn. And when you talk about sacrifices, there's this fraternity that you talk about, and some of the names you also just mentioned. There's a fraternity of South African artists and African artists that made the decision to leave the country and go to a foreign land, which is a sacrifice even today with as how nice it is and how easy it is for us to travel. We don't even make that sacrifice. It's a very difficult step for us to make, We are connected via Instagram. We feel like we know what's happening overseas. You guys made a decision, and you've made a decision to leave South Africa, not being an engineer, not being a scientist, not being a doctor, but being a musician. That's a big step and a big sacrifice. What led to you actually taking that leap and making that step?
Okay, again, it was Doc at Dockham House.
Oh man, Dockham House. We actually need to do a documentary on Dockham House.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because in my book that I'm planning, I plan to write the whole chapter or chapters on Dockham House, because it was critical in my upbringing as a musician. So, like I said, there was Denpo, there was Guigu Mukhwebi, and all these guys. And they were musicians themselves, by the way. But they were musicians who cared for the next generation, that they actually prepared, the road for the next generation, like ourselves, And but then he's one of the people that you really wish you can go to his grave and wake him up and say, thank you very much, sit here, let me pour you some tea, Because now when you think back, you think that he had his own children, but he had so much love for the children that had nothing to do with his family. But he really made us who we are today, because he would check you out And when he saw what you had, it was not only me. There was George Makhane, George Tau, I mean, some of the friends that we made, you know, the next steps, and we went on and on. So when they produced another show, they had produced a lot of shows. They had produced Mr. Palias in Cape Town, and they sent me there, Mr. Palias, as stage manager. They taught me everything, stage managing, lighting, like I said, sound, I mean, you name it. At that time, we were not actually using sound like today. But, you know, like they made me aware of acoustics and things like that, you know. So when we finished Mr. Palias, this was another musical. This had to do with a fishing village. It was in a so-called colored community. But it was not only colored community in the play itself. There was Africans and so-called coloreds and Indians and so on. And it was a beautiful play. So when we finished Mr. Palias, and I came back to Johannesburg, Gibson Kente was looking to do a play, a musical, because, you know, people were becoming very educated in terms of, in the townships, it's not only to sing, but you can actually produce musicals, you see. And so Gibson wanted to produce a musical. And he called myself, George Tau, Josh Makhane, and Mabel Mafuya, and my wife Uleta, because he had known us for years. And because we were in Doke House. He used to come to Doke House, but he was not an artist. Gibson used to write songs, you know, and he wrote songs for Abomire Makeba and other people. He was very good at that. And he told us about the idea he had. He wanted to write a play called Manana, the Jazz Prophet. But because he didn't know much about theater, we had been doing theater now for quite some time. So he said to us, help me out. You know, can you help me out? Let's work on the script, and also can you do acting and stuff? And we did. That's how we got into Manana, the Jazz Prophet. That was a Doke House production again. And then from yes, then there was Zakes Mukai. I don't know if you know of Zakes Mukai. Athol Fugard. They did plays like. They did Busman and Lena. They did The Island. They did all kinds of plays together. That was a Doke House production. Then there was The Emperor Jones, which was a play that was written by O'Neill, and that was Doke House. So Doke House was just producing all these plays, these musicals. And this time they said, okay, look, now you guys, they told me and some of us who were in Manana, the Jazz Prophet, next year we're going to the US and we're taking a play, Sponona. Now Sponona had been playing in South Africa as well. And they said to me, because we need you to go with the guy who was the conductor of the musical side of this play. You know, he was one of those people who was like square in a way. And Doke House was full of streetwise kids, you know. So they put me in there to help him to control these streetwise kids, you know. But also, I also participated in the choir, okay? I also sang in the choir. And this was a very different play. This one didn't have instrument. This was straight, just vocal music. So I was there. That's how I went to the States with Sponono. And when we got to the States, it lasted about 4 months on Broadway. It had some hiccups and little, you know, problems with the story, because Americans were expecting something much more dramatic and much more truthful, especially coming from South Africa going to the States. So they had problems. The press had few problems with it, so it didn't last. You know, it was too timid.
Are you saying it was watered down?
It was timid. It was timid. You know, I wouldn't say watered down, I would say timid. They were coming from this country and they were afraid to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, you know, because then they wouldn't come back, you see. Yeah. So they had to kind of become very diplomatic and hide certain truths. But the press was unforgiving. The press was really ruthless. They just tore it to pieces, you know. But I remained. Miriam Makeba was already there. Hugh Masekela was already there. Jonas Gongo was already there. And they were sent by Doke House again, you see. And so Miriam and Hugh and Jonas said, so now the play is over. Are you going back? Why don't you take some time, you know, and stick around, check out the US and see what else is there. Now, I had always wanted to be a composer, arranger. And so I saw this opportunity that I was in the States. Why don't I go to school, you know, and do what I've always wanted to do? And the rest is history.
Wow, and Dr. Caiphus Semenya, I did not know that you are from Alex, representing the East Rand. Can you just imagine how difficult it must have been to be a young up-and-coming musician back in those days? No social media, no phone to quickly record, no AMP studios to make use of their world-class recording studios. Sure, it's incredible. So remember to keep the conversation going, keep your comments coming right here on our live stream using the hashtag AMP Studios, and also alternatively you can use our WhatsApp line. Send us your name on 081-707-6636. Right now, we're going for a quick break. We'll be back after this. Don't go anywhere.
AMP Studios brought to you by Old Mutual.
The global pandemic has exposed the fact that many of us are ill-prepared for rainy days. Entertainers in general are among the hardest hit. We need to save for rainy days. We need to have a financial plan in place. We have all learned many lessons, especially around our finances. So let's make use of this time to reflect and plan for any future rainy days. You might not have been prepared for this one, but it doesn't mean that you cannot plan for the next one. Live within your means. Don't go overboard. There's no need to impress anyone. Don't owe anybody any success but yourself. Let's all plan for tomorrow. Speak to a financial advisor. And this is the reason we partnered with MTV to provide these tips and for you to achieve your exceptionally best future.
Music has changed. How it makes us feel never will. The time is now to visit ampstudios.co.za.
Making a nyugu these days, good rough. Just ask that guy. So that's why you need Old Mutual rewards. They're lifing. See, these guys actually reward you for being clever and yakho. Anybody can join, and it's free. It's my son's birthday tomorrow, so let's earn some points. Now turn my points into cash, and they send a voucher. Then just shop, show, and scan.
The time is now. Sign up for free to Old Mutual Rewards today.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, we are broadcasting live from our AMP studios from Newtown, brought to you by Old Mutual. You are just in time for the second half of our iconic conversation between Dr. Caiphus Semenya and Riky Rick. Do not forget, we still have that special tribute coming up of his song Matswale, produced by Tresor, also done by KWESTA, Amanda Black, the tMahotella Queens, and many, many more. So we can't wait for that. Make sure that you stick with us, because we're going to be playing that towards the end of the stream. And remember, if you want to be part of our AMPed community, all you need to do is make sure that you get yourself an Old Mutual money account, and it only costs you R4.95 per month. So right now, go to our website, ampstudios.co.za. But first, let's take a look at more of the messages from our artists who are just talking about how much Dr. Caiphus Semenya has contributed to their careers. Take a look.
I think for a lot of artists, music means different things. Over time, you get to understand great craft takes time. He's known for really taking his time and recording an album over and over and over. And I think it's really fascinating because it shows the dedication to the craft.
if you rehearse with Caiphus, you must know that you're not going to see the sun for the day. You're in prison, actually.
So he came to my house that evening, like 9:30 in the evening. It's almost time to go to sleep. But Caiphus has got this energy of a real producer that he kept me going throughout the night until 6 o'clock the next morning. And he says, "Pops, this is perfect. You need to go and rest. I'm going home now." And he goes home. 10 o'clock he's back in the studio. I don't like that bass drum. I listened to it properly. Ntata, we have to start over again now.
He kept the roots of South Africa. That's why when you listen to Caiphus, you can hear this is a South African, is an African musician, doing his music. That is so priceless for us to have something like that.
Really, their music, it's the music, the real music, the top music, our music.
If you think about the spaces in which people like Caiphus were making music, or the conditions under which they were making music, that sort of oppression, and yet the music, when it came out, it gave hope to so many people,
We are so overwhelmed with what we see on TV daily, we don't go out there and give ourselves time to do a research, and understand that what our legends did before us.
We have music, we have our legends that have changed the game for all of us, and that's how we're here today.
It's quite inspiring to know that, somebody before us, had gone there and broke those barriers.
That's a real legacy. You could tell that there's not just an artist, but his songs just stand out, and many will agree with me.
And people talk about your life, like some people would say to you that, you're old now, you should leave that for the little ones. You know what I'm saying? And Caiphus once said to me, Pops, musicians don't die, they just fade away. And don't let someone's opinion about you make you change opinion about yourself. There's no age in music.
Shah, it is so important for us to honor and hail our legends while they're still alive. Those messages are absolutely beautiful. Show Dr. Caiphus some love. You can, on the comments page, you can comment right now and tell us how much he means to you. Okay, I think Dr. Caiphus and Riky are ready for the second half of their conversation. I'm getting a thumbs up, so that means they're ready. So here we go, the second half of their iconic conversation.
Just speaking to you now, there's so much mention into the people that created the opportunity for you, the people that paved the way for you. And I don't want to fast forward too much, but is that why it's so important for you to also push that education and creating platforms and creating systems where young people can get together and actually learn about the arts and actually gather more education in a space? Is that why that's so important to you?
Exactly. You hit it right on the horn. So that's right. That's why the idea of the National Academy of Africa's Performing Arts came into being, because of my experience that without Bobu Dan and Buma K and all of them taking me by hand and, taking me through the experiences that I just, and by the way, I'm doing this fast because it was much slower, and there were certain things that they did, there were certain things, but I'll put that in a book. Well, another time, this would call for, I don't know how many interviews or how many discussions, but what happened is that, so that remained with me, so I felt that I needed to do what others had done for me, And then luckily I have a wife who understands, because we were together at Docker House and she went through the same, and she saw the people that were instrumental in helping her. And so we want to be instrumental in helping the younger generation and those of other generations who are not that young but are already into this, at least to hone their skills and make them better.
Wow, and then to end up in New York, and still decide to educate further. And people my age right now are saying, are you crazy? People are saying, why would you go back to school? How could you be in New York and it's vibrant, everything is popping, and I'm sure the movement is crazy, and you decide to go back to school?
Yeah, I tell you one thing that I discovered and in being in New York, and how it came about for me to really want to learn, because I've always wanted to learn to be an arranger and a songwriter, a composer, songwriter, because in the Cats and Jama Kids, in my group, I found that I had the talent to put the music together, and the group started looking at me as the one who arranges and put things together, and they encouraged me. They would say, you do it. You do it better than us, And so I saw this, and Bobu Dan, like I was talking about Dan Bo, and Bobu Dan, Bo Gui, especially Kibe, some of the names, from the Woodpeckers, Victor Zazelwana. They saw this talent in me. And Victor used to say, "What in Ubopala man? Yas lendwan in a gift man," And then also Makei Davashe. One day he heard from Ukipi Mweke Yas lendwan was a composer, And Makei came to me and said, "Ukiputu was a composer with him," And he said, "You should stick with this." So there were all these people, Abo Kido Ngumalo, Brakip, used to say to me, "You've got a gift, don't let it go." So all these little things, they grow in you, especially with people that you respect, like the people that I'm talking to you about. So they become the catalyst. They inspire you. So when I was in the States, I knew that I had a deficit in music, and the deficit was that I had never had the opportunity to sit in a classroom and be taught certain things in music. Everything that I did was natural, So, and discussing with some of the musicians that were playing with Hugh Masekela and Jonas. And Hugh and Jonas were still going to school, by the way, when I got to the States. You see? Right. And they were my age, and they were still going to school, learning. So here I was, and now for the first time I was looking at guys my own age that I had grown up with, and we were all performing Gabu King Kong and all the other plays that I was talking about, and they had gone to school. They left South Africa and they wanted to learn more. So they inspired me too, to want to do more too. And then I applied to go to the New York School of Music, and they didn't take me then, but that's a long story. But that never discouraged me from continuing. So I ended up going to a private teacher who taught me, but he could only teach me for about 6 months, And then after that, the rest was up to me. And of course, one of the things that they mentioned is that I was going to school, I was already 27 and so on, you see. Then they would say, the Manhattan School of Music, they said to me, you should have started at the age of 15. That's how we take them at the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. But at 27, no, we can't, because we have to take you back, to the fundamentals, and there's no time for that.
And what you're talking about, you're not talking about playing and getting an understanding. You're talking about now writing what's in your head onto a piece of paper.
Right. Writing it down, because so when I got to the States. And in New York, so Miriam had me, sing a song, and Miriam says, "What's that song?" And when I told her, she said, "Can you teach it to the band?" So I found that in the States, when you have a band here, and you say the song goes like the da 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 dum da 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 da, and the chords go. The guy say, "Hey man, why don't you put it down?"
And you can't say I can't. You can't say I can't.
Because, yeah, then you say I can't, then they would say, well, find somebody to do it, man, because we're not going to sit all day here and listen to you, go down. No, man, we got other things to do. For this rehearsal, I thought I would spend only an hour or two. So it looks like we'll be here for the next 5 weeks, man, so put it down. And there I was caught. Then I would tell Hugh and I would tell Ugwa, hey, there's Labantu Bafuna Guti, you put these things down. I don't know how to do it, Now Hugh is working now at school, and so they don't have time to teach me. You know what? So then, so I found this guy, Hall Overton, but it's Paul. What's the guy's name? Paul Wildala, he bass, I'm in piano. He was very good. And he said to me, there's a guy that I know, man. Paul used to play Nabo Hugh, Nabo Gwangwa. And he says to me, there's a guy that can teach you. I'll take you to him. And he did. And so when I got to this guy, he said, how old are you? And he said, can you read? I said, no. He said, wow. I said, nothing. I said, nothing. He said to me, you know what? But he said, but I understand you write some songs. I mean, and are you a piano player? I said, no, I'm not a piano player. He said, so how do you write? I said, well, I conceive of the things in my head, and then I go to the piano just to make sure that the chords I hear are correct, And he said, to me, but you can do that on the piano to listen to what you... I said, yeah. And he said, so you can hear the chords that you play? I said, yeah. And he said, play me some. So I played him something. One was Caution, the one that goes dam pa da did it, pa pa da did it, and he said, ha. And he said, that's interesting. Because some of the chords that you're playing, some of the musicians that I know, they never write that way and put that chord where you put it. And it sounds good. That means you've got the talent to write. I'm going to show you how to write down what you hear in your head. And I said, you can? He said, oh, yes, I'm going to teach you. And then I spent 6 months with him. Because, he was a very, very busy man, He was a very busy man. And at the time I met him, he was transcribing the music of Thelonious Monk. And, he was given by a university to do this for them. Thelonious Monk is one of the most difficult, composers in the world, the harmonies that he wrote. So they had given him Hall Overton to do this job. And so 6 months he spent with me. He showed me how to write down the notes and stuff. This is what you hear, your chord, your chord is this and that and that and that. And after 6 months he said to me, now the rest is up to you.
Jeez, the rest is up to you. And look what it became. Now we look back and a boy from South Africa, a boy born in Alexandra, a boy who comes from an apartheid South Africa, a boy that didn't know how to read music, ends up producing music with the likes of Quincy Jones, Lou Rawls. We can throw in our own legends, Letambulu, your wonderful wife, and a host of many others. I don't want to say Michael Jackson, because once I say the Michael Jackson one, everyone wants it becomes a whole long conversation. But that's just the discography, the credits go deeper and deeper. We were watching the series Roots in Kwamashu as a kid. We used to watch the series Roots, and only very recently I figured out that you had played a hand in even that scoring and that and that soundtrack. And that's something, you know, Ukunta Kente asimazi tina from books or from anything else. Simazi from roots, from watching Roots, you know. So, and your music and your compositions have made it so far and wide. I'm not even going to get into how far and wide they've gotten into. But, you know, this is something that an African child looks at today and needs to understand that it is so possible, not for someone just to be considered someone from South Africa, but you can be someone from South Africa or someone from Nigeria or from Zimbabwe that has an international footprint with their sound. And it's not like you changed your sound and became someone who wants to sound like, you know, an artist from New Orleans. It was always infusing where you come from. And that's something that's very rare today. Me being a rapper, it's very rare for a rapper to leave South Africa and become noticed in New York or something. It's very rare for us to take Africa with us. And that's all you guys did, that fraternity of artists that we speak of now, you, Jonas Ngwangwa, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, there was an authentic African sound that followed you everywhere you went. You know, obviously we understand why it was so important, but for you, why was it so important to always not represent, but to always have your Africanness about you everywhere you go?
Yes, yeah. You know, batul koba lesase sincane ne nisase manzi. Yeah. Because for me to be a musician, it's not something that I can say, you know, one day I woke up and I said I want to be a musician, you know. I was surrounded by, I grew up in an environment that was musical, right? Besides Ekaya, home, my mother used to teach us, you know, traditional songs, you know, a lot of traditional songs. My grandmother, every time she would tell us stories, you know, she folk tales, she would put music, you know, a lot of our folk tales have got music to them. But then, but then Alexandra, by the way, is the home of the penny whistle. Oh yeah, Abo Lemi Mabaso, and guys older, yeah. Then Ubrazek Nkosi comes from Alexandra Township. Abo Ntemi PDs who come from Alexandra Township, you know, and they used to play Umpakanga, okay? Guma Pendwabo. And the African Swing Stars is actually a band, Yase LX. And it was one of the best bands of this country, big bands. And then you had Abo Makei Davaji, Abo Harlem Swing Stars. And then you had the Harlem Boogies, Pinoni. You had all these people, you know. So you grow up as a kid not wanting to be an American. You grow up as a kid wanting to be this South African musicians like you hear them play. You know, they are not trying to be something else. And they are good at it. So you want to be like them. So Maspumela ngaphandle sonke nabo Gwangwa nabo Hugh. There was the Hugh no Gwangwa, when they were here, they were playing jazz. But that didn't mean Uguti they did not know the music Walaikaya, because when they played background for the Woodpeckers or the Manhattan Brothers, even as young as they were, these guys were doing Umpakanga, the music Walaikaya. So you grow up then wanting to be this South African musician. All we wanted to do, Ukwang and Abu Hugh, they wanted to learn to play the trumpet, kahle. They wanted to learn to play the trombone, kahle, to play mpakanga, kahle. You see, they wanted to play mpakanga, kahle, to play mpakanga at a higher level, having learned how to play these instruments correctly. Yeah, because most of us are self-taught. So now that's what I wanted to do. So when I was studying Nohol Overton, like he said, I'm going to teach you to write down what you hear in your head. And what I heard in my head was the music of this country. That's what I heard. Not that I didn't hear jazz and rhythm and blues, I know them, yes, but Gikule with this one. So when I left this country, I was already in my 20s. So at Mbause, in your 20s, that means good, you've been drinking and eating this mpakanga, this South African music, wagini. That's what happened. Otherwise, maybe if we had left and went there, sing a teenage, sing a 14, 15, we would have been Americanized. Yeah. But we left it last school. So we were already proud of our heritage, our music heritage. We were already proud of it. So because even when these guys said, go and put it down. So immediately I knew how to put it down. Then I would call the band and just put the papers in front of them.
And Bona, when they heard you playing these, I'm sure, foreign sounds, what were they thinking to themselves? What were they saying? What were the Americans saying when they would hear these melodies that I'm sure they've never heard before?
Well, a lot of them, especially the ones who are musicians, and we also had an audience that was, in the world there are people who are multidimensional in terms of their thinking. Yeah? So we had an audience that heard what we were doing, and they loved this African thing that we were doing. Yeah? But then there were those who didn't care for that African thing. They grew up as Americans. That's what they heard. And then you had the record companies that heard this African sound, and they wanted to put that African sound as part of their Lukuzan. How do you say this? The portfolio, whatever name we can find for. Yeah, but so and then the musicians, themselves, Wayne Henderson of the Crusaders, Quincy Jones, Quincy just loved the African sound because a lot of these guys, and we played mostly with with black musicians, mostly, because some white guys who were American who were like open-minded, like I said, to listen, to hear something else. But some of the guys that we played with in Jingabo, the Crusaders, they were the ones who really wanted to know their own background, their African roots. Yeah, but there were others who didn't care for that. But about Quincy Jones, about Wayne Henderson, or Joe Sample, they really wanted to know their African roots. Man, you call this what? Mpakanga? Yeah, I love Mpakanga, man. I love where you're coming from, man. And then like you don't do like the 2 and 4. You do that tap tap tap. I like that, man. Yeah, and so you found that there were those musicians that were really intrigued by this sound, and they found it to be enriching to their own sound. Yeah, but and Quincy Jones here, being an arranger, and once I met him, then he was into that. He really loved that sound, and then he would like to mix it up. You know, that's what happened. And like I said, also there was an audience for it. We had an audience. Well, we didn't have millions of Americans. Remember that we were singing in Sesotho and Zulu and Xhosa. And you can't blame Americans if they can't hear you. Why? Yeah. But the others, they didn't care. You just explained what the song meant, and they loved it.
But you did it, and it's an amazing thing that you did it, and you did it your way, and you did it a way that we didn't lose a figure like you, even when you could have stayed in America forever and continue to produce in that space, you decided to come back home. Home is still a place that's very special, and it's a place that you still are fighting hard, especially with the academy school, the school that you are you still in the process of the school, or is it are we getting any closer to the academy?
Yeah, we are. Unfortunately, this COVID happened, manje, because we were on our way to Cuba. Yeah, it's fine good to see Cuba. The very month Ramaphosa announced the COVID thing, we were going to be under lockdown. We were supposed to have been in Cuba. In Cuba, I was looking for Cubans are very good, especially when it comes to brass, you know, because we are going to be teaching. I want instructors that are going to teach the students brass instruments, woodwinds, and so on and so forth. And because I've spent a lot of time in the U.S. with Cuban guys from Cuba who are musicians, and Cubans are very good when it comes to brass. When you talk about trumpets and trombones, the Cubans are they actually teach the trumpet and trombone in an incredible way, you know. So I was going to Cuba to see, visit some of their music academies, talk to some of their professors, and see if they could let us have some of their professors for about a couple of years to come and teach our youngsters here, and teach some of our guys here who would like to be teachers themselves. Yeah, because the brass, yeah, the trumpet and the trombone, these are very tricky instruments. You need, you know, if you want to master them, you must find those people who really know the instrument. So that's where we are.
Must be very strong.
Yeah. Then, of course, the woodwinds, I'm thinking of the U.S. I mean, the Americans, when it comes to woodwinds, you talk about saxophone, you see. So the Americans, when it comes to woodwinds. But the Cubans are good with woodwinds too. But I just wanted to mix them up, you know, as instructors, you know? Yeah, because a lot of these guys, what I'm talking about people who went to the academies of music to study how to be teachers of certain instruments. Yeah, that's what I want. Because guys who are players are really not great teachers. But the guys who were taught, actually, who've got degrees in teaching. Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah, at that level. So, because they've got the patience for the student, and they can see the talent in a student, and they'll be able to give the student all the equipment in terms of how do they call it? Dexterity of how to play an instrument and understand the instrument. And these guys are the guys who've gone through school to do that. So they got their degree to be teachers. And Anketi Lapo, not only, but also going back into even piano and all these instruments, because it's about time we produce people who really understand the instrument inside out. Because a lot of our musicians are self-taught, like we were self-taught. And it's none of our fault. It's not our fault. But I think the time has come now that we have an institution where we can have people who are there to learn how to really play these instruments.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at these young, talented kids that we do music with, because we obviously are making a lot of stuff digitally. We're making everything on our computers and laptops, but when we do our live shows, we're working with live musicians. And that's where we also get to feel that making an investment on youngsters that are able to play live instruments is beneficial, you know, for everybody. It's not something that's just limited to jazz. I think people think about music school and they think it's, oh, you're only going to be able to do jazz, or what you want to play in an orchestra. No, it benefits hip hop, it benefits house music, it benefits every music genre for us to have musicians that are, I guess, better trained and more exposed to the intricacies of instruments.
And you're right, because an instrument is an instrument, you can use it in any music. Yeah, you can play Chinese music with a saxophone or with a violin. You know, there's no instrument which is meant for this kind of music.
Yeah.
No, there isn't, you know. So hip hop, if you've got kids that can play yourself, if you found a big band that can really kick and they sound great, you know, you find that Wuti into Zakuze rap, they've got that thing behind you, this thing, hey, Lavantwana Bayashisa, man, you know, because that's what you want. Yeah, man. Sometimes you find that you don't think about using a band because you've never had anybody who knocks you out.
And that's such a common feeling, because you know, you go, when I watch you perform or I watch a Hugh Masekela perform, not that we can ever get to that level, but if we're watching you do it, we want something that moves us as much as when we watch you perform. We want musicians where the music is just flowing through them, you know, and you can feel the realness and the rawness, you know, to what they're playing. I think everyone appreciates that, and most musicians are looking for that. And there's very few people in the hip hop space that like knock you out, you know. But you know, Bob Semenya, your legacy is one that is not complete. It's a legacy that will still continue to grow, even after so many years and dedication and sacrifice to the art. And Mina, personally, I'd like to thank you for not only just being a great musician, but also having a strong principle that I try to borrow today. I work with my wife, and my wife is my partner. She's my life partner. She's my business partner. She's the person I depend on. And your story and your family story, so amazing, because you know, for a couple that's in music to be able to create iconic music together, but also to be able to create a long life together, is something that's very rare. And I don't want you to give us, you know, all the details. These are lessons we have to learn in our own lives. But if you can just maybe touch a little bit and say, and just let the people out there know, because everyone says working with family is wrong. Business and family don't mix. And I've always been of the idea that of the very opposite. Business and family can mix as long as it's coming from the right place. So I don't know if you can just give us a quick insight into those principles that you've carried with you that allowed you to be able to work with your wife for so many years and be able to actually live a life together.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously it doesn't work with everybody. So you are fortunate that when you found a way to do that with your wife. I found that way in Army a long time ago. I think the most important thing, the secret, is your partner should also be interested in doing what you're doing, you know, because if she's not interested in what you're doing, then I don't think you can work together, you know. And in my case, she's a singer. She's a great singer. And what happened is that when she realized, because when she came to the States, we were engaged here, Ekaya, when I left, because remember, I didn't know I was going to go. I was already engaged when they told me that you have to go to the States, at Doke House. And then I went, and then I sent for her, and she followed. And then she had no idea that I was that kind of a person, you know, who was interested in writing and arranging. She saw a little bit of it here at home, but in the States she saw it expanded, you know, because I was doing it for Miriam, I was doing it for Hugh, and she said, "Oh, because you can do these things," you know. And I had written a song for her normally, you know, which Hugh recorded, and she was really amazed. And then she said to me, "Well, why don't you write me some songs too, you know?" So I wrote a couple of songs for her because I had written Miriam Makeba some songs. And then she was really floored. She was very happy that I could write. And because, you know, we've got a relationship, then she would say to me, "You know, I hear this kind of a song. Can you put some chords to it?" And I would do it, and I would help her. So this thing led to us now beginning to understand each other, you know. And when I'm doing something, and then I would maybe get stuck with the lyric, and I would call her and say, "Can you help me in this lyric and do this?" And then she would do it. And this led to us not you know, to a point when you started, you did not do it deliberately to say, "I want to work with my wife. So, wifey, come, let's work together." You know, it just grew. Exactly. You know, it just grew. And without both of you noticing that, comes a time where you begin to rely on each other to say, "You know what, I know the only person who can help me with this is this one," you know. And she too, she would be working with some people doing a song, and she would come home unhappy. And I would say, "Why are you unhappy?" She says, "No, you know, this song, you know." I said, "Okay, well, what's the song?" And she would sing it. And I would say, oh, maybe it needed something like this. And she said, "You see, that's exactly what I thought." And the following day, she would tell the band. Because one time, here we were, she was working in New York, and she had to call. And Harry Belafonte was on the phone. He said, "Could you come here because your wife says, you know, the only person who can do the music right is you." So I went there, and lo and behold, all the music that they had given her, and I arranged it. And when they heard it, they said, "That's it." You know, and she's happy. And Harry used to say, "See, when you do it, she's happy." You make her very happy. So that's how it grew, Rick. That's how it came that way, you know, slowly and slowly and slowly. And so we are like Siamese twins now. We found out, okay, we've got this thing that both of us, you know, has united us, besides the love that we have for each other and the children that we share.
So, you know, there's the part where we can identify you have a talent, you know. We all can identify we have something that's going on for us. We got something that can work for us. But like you said before, a lot of the people that you were around, some of them were just doing it because, oh, this is fun. You know, I'm just skating through it. You actually made the decisions to invest time into it and commit to it 100%. You know. Yeah. What do you say about actually people starting to use their time more seriously and investing their time more seriously into the things that they love?
Yes, I mean, I think it's just common sense that if you love something, and you want you naturally, okay, let me do this. Let's say when you love a woman, you know, like I love this woman, and then every day you work at it, you know. When you see her, you don't go there looking raggedy. I mean, you try and look presentable, and then the things you say, you want to say things that will make her say, "He's clever, he's not stupid." You know, so whatever you love, you have to invest time in it to make it better, you know. For instance, when it comes to music, with me, how I discovered this is that I remember there was like Music in the Air, how it came about. I used to sit there and play this song all the time. I'm not a piano player, but I know my way around the piano and the harmonies and stuff, you know. So I would play slowly something, and every time I would go to the piano, I would play this song, and then I would change it so many times. So one time later said, "Why do you keep changing this song?" You know? And I said, "Because I don't like what I've done, you know, but I like the beginning of it, you know." And then finally one day, I was playing it, you know, and then and we had an appointment the following day with Herb Alpert at A&M Records. And Herb Alpert, they had signed Uleta. She was already signed with them. So they were looking for songs. So Herb Alpert was saying in this in his office, so we were talking music, how do we approach the album and so on. And he said, you know, if we can have a ballad, you know, a great ballad. And then so we were talking about ballads. And later said, that song, the one you keep playing. And I said, which one is that? She said, you know, the one yesterday you were playing. And I said, oh, that one. She said, yeah, that one, you know. And Herb said, Herb was very funny. He said, yeah, that one. And I said, you don't even know what song we're talking about. He said, but Letta seems to think this song is a good song. So Herb said, so why don't you play it? Then I sat at the piano and I played it because I had finished it now. And then when I finished, Herb said, that's it. That's the song. We've got to record this. I have to find this guy who's a great guy. And for us to do it justice, I have to find this guy who writes great lyrics. And then he got Jennings, Will Jennings, you know. And the following day when Will Jennings came in, Will Jennings said, okay, let's play it. And then I played it. And then he said, And he said, okay, 2 days from now, I'll bring some notes. And then when he came back with the lyric. I was still not happy. And we sat together, you know, and we worked at it, you know, until the rest is history. So it takes time if you really want to make it something that will be here for a long time.
And that's the same with business. You've got to also pay attention and focus and actually look what's happening and practice at getting better with keeping your affairs in order, you know, because I don't know how you continue to be creative if the business side is not good and you're not able to also create. I guess it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's everything. If you are a writer, you know, I've seen people who are artists, you know, they would paint a whole thing and you think it's beautiful, and then all of a sudden he takes a brush and he brushes over that thing. You say, why did you do that? So, I don't like it, you know? And then the next time, maybe 2 months later, the same thing that he was doing, you find it, he has finished it, but this time it looks much better than the last time. And now he says, I think it's okay now, you know? It's like that. Everything that's worth it needs time to be put into it.
Everything needs time.
Everything needs time.
Riky Rick, I can't believe it. I'm going to send this clip to my mother and get to Benghles. No, Bab Semenya, she's going to go crazy. So, you know, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to chat with you. You know, it's a privilege, like I say, for me, and it's an honor. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you for spending time, Nami. I mean, it's a long story, so we were just cutting shortcuts, since about shortcut.
Book? No, I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting for the book.
Yeah, no, that one. That's where I'm going to put my heart out into everything that I've gone through. Yeah.
If somebody had to make a movie about your life, have you thought about any actors or anybody that could play that part? I think Mina could come close. I think Namzo practice lapane Market Square. Your practice
That would be okay. No, but I haven't thought about that, myself. I just think with the book can inspire whoever wants to do that.
All love, Bob. All love. Nyabong.
Oh, my love.
Peace and love to the family.
Next time, Nami Zatlarapanz, when you tell about yourself, because Nami, I know about you, but not enough.
Anytime. We will have a day.
Okay, and keep it up now.
Thank you, sir.
What a way to spend the afternoon, just learning from Dr. Caiphus Semenya and Riky Rick. That was incredible. Lots of lessons learned today. I know I've learned a lot. And one thing I can take from this is that Dr. Caiphus Semenya is not only just an incredible artist, but he's an all-round fantastic human being. So thank you so much to you, Riky Rick and Dr. Caiphus. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to that book, of course, and to you at home. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We had a fantastic day. And who knows, you could be the next Dr. Caiphus Semenya or Riky Rick. So make sure that you get your Old Mutual money account. Go to our website right now, ampstudios.co.za, and we just give you the support and the tools you need to possibly break into the music industry. So right now, it's the time for the moment that we've all been waiting for. It's that special tribute for Dr. Caiphus Semenya. And this was recorded right here at our studios. This was produced by Tresor, featuring stars and legends like KWESTA, Amanda Black, Vusi Khumalo, Bongeziwe Mabandla, and the incredible tMahotella Queen. So this is the special for Dr. Caiphus Semenya, his amazing song, Matswale. That's it from us. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again next time. Bye.
In 1974, Botswana was like the hub for South African activists who had skipped South Africa. We found a lot of married couples, and people seemed to be very happy, even though they were in the middle of the struggle. When we came back in 1979, it seemed like all the marriages didn't work. And when I asked the question, but why? What happened? Most of the time I got the answer was matata. Exile. Exile was too heavy for other people. Most South Africans, every time there's a problem in the home, then they would call the parents to come and help. But this time, people were in exile, so there were no parents, there was nobody to come and help them. Then I thought, if I was to write this song, that some of them could learn a lesson, that they had to go to Matswale and tell Matswale that we've got problems at home and we've come to you to come and help us.
nights, sweet grapes and grapevines, stories and little play fights. It's been a minute since date night. Mama, we built a home, yeah, but we both feeling alone, yeah. Mama, it's getting cold, yeah. Eqinisweni we both scared. Cela usikhiphe kulo size sigulu sibeke kwenye indawo. Sibonise futhi ubuhle bethu sibekezelela. Cause I see her, feel her, lead her, need her, and even breathe her air. Then I hate her and make her hate me, save me, embrace me, please be there. In time, yeah, I feel, angazi ngone. We try to heal, spelele moyeni. Look, mom, it's me, Mkali Nyembezi. Love dies, kunzi, tandaza already.
That's nice. That's really nice. It's very different.